So I want to start off by saying welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're a fanatic of everything entertainment, then this is the channel for you. So in today's movie review, we'll be talking about 1964's Mothra vs. Godzilla. So let's get into it. So some of you may have seen my King Kong vs. Godzilla review, and I just want to say that I enjoyed this film quite a bit more than that one, so let's get into the positives. I found Godzilla's introduction here to be awesome. Like, he just tears stuff up, and we've never seen him erect from the ground, which I thought was also like a bit mesmerizing. It's pretty unique, especially in a Godzilla film. I don't know if like other kaiju films have done that, where like the creature comes from the ground, but I'm a fan of it. And like, I had a big grin on my face whenever that scene played out. I love that they waste no time showing Godzilla go on a rampage as soon as we see him get on screen. And speaking of which, it's a pleasure to see Godzilla go on a rampage regardless if his film is good or not. Like, I will be there day one for Godzilla X Kong The New Empire just to see shit being torn up. What can I say? I love that stuff. Once again, I love the miniatures in here, and these are quite a step up from Kong vs. Godzilla, and even then, that was an improvement over the last film, and so on and so forth. Like, miniatures in here, I've said in mostly every review, if not every review, that miniatures are nostalgic to me, mainly because of the Three Stooges. They used a heap of scenes and skits involving miniatures, and to some it may look stupid, but I love scenes involving miniatures, and I love the variety in this film too. Like, this one does it even better than the previous films. I'll be completely honest. I knew nothing about Mothra before going into this film. Now I know very little, but I cannot wait to see her in future films. I'm a fan of her character. I can't wait to see how they utilize her in future films, regardless if it was an American film or just a Toho production. Usually, I hate when characters break into a song, when said film isn't a musical, but I really like the characters of the Shobijin, portrayed by the Peanuts, who are two tiny twin fairies that sing when they want to summon Mothra, and the song that they use to summon her is one that I'm looking forward to putting on my playlist. Like, it was actually that good. Usually that never happens. I latched on to mostly everybody in here, regardless if their characters are assholes or not, or if they're just, a great lead, like, regardless. And it probably doesn't help that I have a bit of a crush on the female lead in here.
Excuse me?
Nothing. Oh, shit. The story in here is another highlight because it did what Kong vs. Godzilla failed to do, and that is making an intriguing story over greedy businessmen. We hate these men for the right reasons, regardless if it's like their performance or not, or it's just, their greediness and love for money. And speaking of these two characters, like the greedy businessmen, the way they go out is surprisingly dark for a film like this, because there's straight up murder and gore in here, which is something I did not expect. And when that happened, my jaw was to the floor. Like, I could not believe that happened. I was in total shock and awe, and it honestly caught me off guard. So apparently this is the last in the Showa era that portrays Godzilla as a villain, and I'm interested to see where they go from here, so can't wait to check out the next film in here. But regardless, with that being said, let's move on to the mix section of this review. While I'm a fan of Mothra in here and I can't wait to see her in future films, I just feel that she wasn't the right kaiju to face off against Godzilla, because she's a winged insect kaiju and Godzilla is a prehistoric and atomic giant / titan. Like I said, I love her in this film, but she simply just doesn't fit. But maybe in a future film I'll feel differently. But for now, I just don't feel that she's a worthy opponent. So with that being said, let's move on to the negatives with this review. Like I've said before, this film does not have Mothra out to be a worthy opponent to Godzilla, and the fight scenes are a prime example. These are honestly my least favorite fight scenes that I've seen in a Godzilla film yet. I honestly thought that this film was like just as good as the original, if not a little better. But then our first fight scene with Mothra and Godzilla happened, and I went from about here with this film to about right there, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, this brought it down a whole star for me because these scenes are so bad. There's not much that Mothra can do except blow a gust of wind or grab Godzilla's tail and drag him, or shoot things towards Godzilla and cover him in poisonous dust. You would think that it would be a lot more badass than it is, but it's absolutely horrid. and you can't take it seriously because of that. And we get more fight scenes in the form of the larva that hatches from Mothra's egg. I guess it's an improvement over the initial fight, but even then, I'm not a fan of this because they spray their silk towards Godzilla. Like, it's like a video game. They avoid his attacks, his atomic breath, and then they shoot back at him. Sort of like in a video game, you duck behind something when the enemy shoots at you, and then you shoot at them at the perfect time. That's basically what this fight scene is. They're just shooting out their silk at him, and it didn't look right. Like, after a minute, it looked like they covered him in a like very thin white sheet. He then stumbles into the ocean and just sinks. So therefore, it's not satisfying for me. And last but not least, the editing in here, especially in the initial fight scene, is just atrocious. There is quite a bit of shaky cam with unnecessary close-ups. The editing is just all over the place, with a lot of wacky cuts that don't really mesh well. It honestly feels as if this scene was edited by an elementary school student. It is that bad, in my opinion. But with that being said, I'm going to be giving Mothra vs. Godzilla an overall grade of a 73%. While this is an improvement, definitely an improvement over the last film and the film before that, like I said, if it wasn't for those fight scenes, I would enjoy this film just as much as the original, if not more. But regardless, this is a pretty good entry in the franchise so far, and I can't wait to see Mothra in future films. But with that being said, I just want to say thank you for everything that you do, and I hope to see you in the next video.